That's important.
Always a question that we get after the fact is, how do I watch this if I wasn't able to attend? So,
yeah, we definitely want to record this one.
Yeah.
I have a feeling it will be referred to by many people.
Yeah. I just in the last few last hour or so, I've gotten so many texts of people saying, oh, I'm so excited to join the user group tonight and curious of what the results are. It's so fun to be able to have this audience first and foremost to speak to, but also bring content that is relevant and anticipated and also partnered. I think importantly, the message is delivered in a way that Salesforce is optimized to present via Einstein Analytics. That to me, like the partnership of this presentation is just really brilliant. And so I appreciate that. It's 6:01. We'll give it just a minute more, let people come on. In my view, I'm not able to see, or I don't know if I can see how many people are on, but Zach or Chris, let me know when you feel like the majority of the registered attendees are on, and we'll get started.
Cool. Oh, I see Stephanie's joined us too.
Does Stephanie only go by a first name now? I mean, I'm sure there might be more.
Oh, right. I should refer to her as the Stephanie Herrera.
That's funny. Okay.
I think we're good.
Are you ready? Yeah. Okay, well, thanks, everyone. Do you want to progress the slide?
No, I want to leave it on this one.
Perpetually getting started. Okay.
Yeah.
Thanks, everybody, for joining our user group tonight. This is an exciting meeting, one that I feel is only possible with the participation of the community as a whole. We've been, over the past several weeks, gathering information from you all to present tonight in terms of what the picture looks like from a salary or expectation standpoint, negotiation elements when you are either starting a new job or have an opportunity to renegotiate your total compensation package. And this is super important. And I love the transparency that we have in the Austin user group community to do this. So thank you, first and foremost, for your participation in order to make this happen. I love the co-leadership that happens between Chris, Zach, and I. That comes together each and every month. And thanks, Rikke, for being available to present on the Einstein Analytics part, which is the medium that will demonstrate the results of the survey. And with that, I'll hand it over to Chris to open up the official meeting tonight. Thanks, Chris.
Yes, thank you, Cindy, and welcome again to everyone. We are glad you're here in our 6th installment of User Group from Home. Here is our agenda for the evening. Just a few things to get through. So announcements first. And then we are very fortunate to have Rikke with us tonight from London. So it was very late for her. So we might let her off the hook and drop after her part of the presentation because what is it, like midnight over there, Rikke? Yes, it's midnight, a little after. Thank you for staying up for us. Then our very own Zach is going to go through the results of the salary survey. We might have some swag to give out, so stick around and see. Yes, Zach is giving you a clue right there that we actually do have swag to give out. And then we're going to wrap up. So announcements, not very many. Probably one of the most important ones is that we are piloting a new meeting technology tonight. The community group, like the Salesforce community, Trailblazer community, reached out to us and wanted us to pilot a new system. So you probably have noticed we are not using Zoom tonight. And so far, just in the few minutes that the other user group leaders and I have played with it, mixed reviews, but just hang in there. And if we hit any hiccups, we certainly apologize for those. Like, I don't even know if I'm going to be able to pass control over to Rikke for her presentation, but we're going to give it a shot. So we're giving that a pilot. We will probably be back to Zoom for our meeting next month. So just stay tuned for that. Next announcement is Winter 21 releases or the release is in Sandbox now. I believe it's going to production somewhere around the middle of October. I think ours is October 17th. So, and the release readiness webinars were this week. So I hope you got an opportunity to check out some of those. Our October meeting will be October 20th, and it will feature our old friend Stephen Frears doing a review of the Winter 20 release. So more info on that is coming. Again, we announced this last time. We're really disappointed, but we just don't feel like we can have a holiday party this year safely. So in 2021, we're going to have one hell of a blowout. And last announcement here is that the developer user group meeting, I believe their next meeting is in November 18th. Check out their user group page for more info on that. Here are the credentials. So as you will see, when Zach presents the results of the salary survey, he built them into an Einstein Analytics dashboard. Here are the credentials.
Before we give them all the logins, if you could go back a slide, let's jump on over to Rikke to do her featured presentation. Go to the previous slide, so that way we can let Rikke give us a brief tour of Einstein Analytics. So that way we don't confuse people with, leave it on announcements, stop sharing, and we're going to pass it on over to our special guest, Rikke, to give us a brief tour of Einstein Analytics. And so everyone has their full attention on her.
All right. Thank you, guys. And thanks for having me. I'll see if I can figure out how to do this sharing. Hopefully everybody can see my screen now. Oh, actually, I shouldn't click on there now. I have an excuse, right? So I'm all the way in London, and as was said, it's rather late here. So I'm probably not completely fresh in mind at this point in time, but we will give it a go. So yeah, thank you for having me. I'm gonna try and see if I can do this, cover all the bases. Einstein Analytics is a platform, so there's quite a lot to cover, and only in a short amount of time. So I won't go into details about everything, but hopefully it will give you enough to get going and understand the terminology that you'll see later. So first of all, my name is Rikke, and I'm a solution architect with the Einstein Analytics team at Salesforce. You can find me at Twitter. I actually put that picture up. I normally don't put that up. I normally have like a different one, but I figured since Zach was so kind to, tell people that I like kayaking, I would put him in the frame as well when I was in Austin last year for Texas Dreaming. And we went out kayaking there. So that's from there. Don't really think there's so much more to say about me, but do need to show this one. Forward-looking statement slide. So basically, if you are looking to make any purchasing decision, please base those on what is currently available in the product now. And with that, let's just get to it. So I figured I wanted to just give you an overview of those different kind of reports that we have in our core Salesforce platform. So we, of course, have our standard reports and dashboards. We also have Einstein Analytics, and we have Einstein Discovery. Now, I'll park Einstein Discovery, and I'll park Salesforce Standard Reporting. I'm assuming most of you probably have experience with the standard reporting tools. I'm parking Einstein Discovery because it's more around the predictive side. So once you have all your data, you can start going in and predicting what could happen in certain different scenarios. So the reason I'm putting it on here is because if you have access to Einstein Analytics and you have the platform licenses, Einstein Discovery can become part of the package, and it's part of that same platform. So the same data sets that you're using for Einstein Analytics, you can also use for getting your predictions in Einstein Discovery. Now, when we talk about Einstein Analytics, you'll see later all the dashboards, and you will see them all in Analytics Studio. But I think from any kind of business perspective, you should very much think about Einstein Analytics as part of an embedded business process. So as you can see here, we're actually looking at an account object, and we're having information in here that is kind of helping, you know, the sales process or whatever we're working on here. Well, we can go in and see, well, be notified about things that are happening on our account. We can go in and see that dashboard that you have up here. We can go in and see the details of all the information that is related to the account. We can go in and look at predicted win rate for opportunities. So this is where discovery comes in, and we can go ahead and take action. So this is where the sweet spot for Einstein Analytics is. It's really where we embed it into business processes. That aside, what you will be seeing today is more the dashboard standalone, but always try and think about it more holistically. So I wanted to cover off some terms, and I'll give you a demo. I'll go a little bit more into details about some of the technical stuff as well to give you an overview. But I wanted to cover off these terms because Zach might mention them later, and these are becoming really key when you're working with Einstein Analytics. So we typically divide it into 3 layers. So we have our data layer, our design layer, and then our intelligence layer. The data layer is where we make the data magic happen. So this is where we bring in data from different, your core Salesforce, and we manipulate it, we transform it into these data sets that we can use for our dashboard. You'll see sync here. Data sync is just about bringing data into Einstein Analytics using our connectors. We have data flow and data prep or recipes, which basically is how do we actually take this data that we're brought over, how do we transform it, and how do we then make it output, which is then going to be our data set. And then finally, we have our monitor. So data set as well is just the data store that we're using. And I'll go more into detail why we're doing this later. Then we also have the design layer, of course. This is probably where most people are familiar and kind of think, oh, dashboards, that's about designing. We have 3 things to think about here. We have lenses, dashboards, and apps. So lenses is that single exploration into your data set. And dashboards is, you know, collection of different views that you'll see. And then finally, the app is similar to your folders in core Salesforce, is where we're storing all of our analytics assets. Finally, we have the intelligence layer, and the intelligence layer here is talking about stories and also how we can deploy them into Salesforce. So story is basically something about you want to do a prediction or understand what is happening. So is it true or false? Is my opportunity going to win or not? It can also be how much is the amount we're going to sell for. So these are the typical questions you would go in and ask. And then you can deploy that into Salesforce, meaning basically that you're looking at an opportunity and you live score your opportunities, whether or not they're going to win or the amount whatever question you're asking in your story. I wanted to just break it up here and just kind of do Einstein Analytics for a little bit. Actually, let me just start here on an account page. And this is not the best dashboard that I have, but it is a dashboard that I've embedded in just to kind of illustrate how we're actually working with data. It's also possible for you to go in and filter anything here. So in this case, you can see I've already filtered, so I'm only looking at opportunities that are related to this specific account that I have up here. So you can see that's actually the same. And also it's zoomed into that state that we're working on here. All right, if I want to go to my Einstein Analytics, I click on my app selector here, and I should have a Einstein Analytics option here. Now I've already opened that up here, so instead of waiting for the load time, let's just go ahead and check this. So here, what we'll see is we have our home page, our recent dashboard, and you can go in and have favorites and all kinds of stuff here. I tend to just go directly to my all item, because what you'll see here, just what I mentioned before with the apps, dashboards, lenses, stories, and data sets, these are the assets that we have, and we can access them from these different tabs. Now, I'll try quickly and just create a dashboard, and hopefully this is going to work. So I'm clicking up here on the create and clicking on dashboard. And I can start from scratch, or I can make myself look really good over for my manager or whoever you're presenting this by choosing the templated dashboard. So I'm going to do that here because it's nice and quick and easy to actually see. Now you'll see you have all these different templates that you can start from. You have your smart templates. These are actually guiding you to get a lot of data already into your dashboard. So I'm going to go ahead and pick one of these smart ones, that is the table expansion. It's very guided, not too much that you need to deal with here. And I'm just waiting for it. So the first thing is it says page. So I should have one in here that is called opportunities for my, let's take the sales app. Hopefully it will, I haven't probably used this data set for a while, so hopefully it doesn't fail on me. Dimensions, so in your data set, you have dimensions and measures. And in this case, dimensions is anything text value. So, you know, your pick list, your text boxes from core Salesforce. So we can pick up to 6. So I'm just going to go ahead and pick a few here. I'm not going to worry too much about what I'm picking. Maybe there should be a stage here somewhere. There we go. Let's just pick these and then stick to that. And then I can also go ahead and pick measures. So I'm going to go ahead, maybe take amount, maybe past due, opportunity age. Again, you can pick a few different ones. And finally, you choose your date. So I've selected all the things that this specific dashboard's requirement to do. And I say, looks good next. And I just have to give it a name. So I'm going to call this demo. And I am going to put it in a, let's put it in the private app today and click create. And hopefully we will get a dashboard that is fully populated with a bunch of different data. So now you'll see that I have my dashboard. I can click on preview here, and I can go ahead and basically select any kind of thing here. And you'll see that my dashboard starts to react to those selections. And this is really what's powerful with Einstein Analytics, is that you can make those selections. So, you know, you have a question, you start drilling down into the data. And as I'm making my selections, you also see that the details here has now basically come up. And we can also go in and hopefully we can enable all of our global actions, custom actions from core Salesforce directly on our data set. So if we wanted to go ahead and create new cases, opportunities, post to chatter, open up their record, all these things we can go and do directly from our dashboard. So really powerful stuff. I'm going to go back to edit. You can always click on create query to go ahead and add your own things into your dashboard. And you can just simply, once you created it, going to drag and drop. Out of the time, I want to go back to cover some more technical stuff. But I would definitely encourage you to take some trails on Trailhead that will just like make you go into the nitty-gritty of creating your own dashboards and get to see. Let me see. I will go back to the slide just out of time, and then I can always go back to the demo in case that you wanted to see a few more things. But I'm just cautious of time as well, and I want to make sure you get the full experience of the technical stuff as well, because I think Zach is going to show you some fun stuff with the dashboards later. Now, we saw the dashboard. The problem about the dashboard is we need data. And in order to get data, we need to start working with creating those data sets and the data sync and the data flow and all these kind of things. Now, typically, when we go ahead and compare this to core, this is going to be quite different. So I like to bring this slide in because it's not just going in and create a dashboard and then you think you're all good. You kind of need to think about a few more things. So to try and simplify it, what is it that we're trying to do in Einstein Analytics? I tried to compare apples and pears here. It's not quite the same, so it's not a quite direct comparison you can do here, but I'm going to do it anyway. So the first thing is we have our report type. Okay, so when you're creating reports in core Salesforce, you need to have a report type that is combining your data in different ways. This is the same thing that our data set is doing. However, this data set is being powered by what we're doing in our data flow. So the data flow is what's actually determining how things are being put together. Then we have our report. That's the same as your single lens. And then we have the dashboards, pretty much the same as the dashboards we have in Einstein Analytics. And then we also have folders and apps that are similar control who can actually access these different assets. One thing that I do want to say here is you do not need to save a lens in order to add it to your dashboard. We don't care about saving reports and then adding them into a dashboard later. Another thing in terms of understanding this whole data concept, how do we actually work with that? Well, if we're looking at standard reports and dashboard and we're building out our report types, we're always starting from the top of our hierarchy and we're moving downwards. So you'll see here I'm having account, which is the starting, the root, and then we move downwards, adding in opportunities and opportunity line item in one straight line. And unless I'm wrong, I think it's still just 3 objects that you can add in that is directly in the same line. Now in Einstein Analytics, we switch that whole thing around. We care about the lowest level because we want to go upwards in the hierarchy. So if we're taking the same scenario, in this case, we would actually start at opportunity line item. That's the first thing that you're picking. And then you're going upwards in the hierarchy, adding in opportunity account. But notice here, I don't have to make it a direct level. I can actually add in account and owner object or the user object from my opportunity. So we're a lot more flexible in the way that we're working with data on Einstein Analytics side. Now, why are we doing this? And sorry I'm going into all this data, but I feel like this is just the most, probably one of the difficult things to comprehend when you're coming from core Salesforce into Einstein Analytics. It's the whole data side. It's the whole data concept. Why are we doing it? Now, you probably had, or I at least have tried many times, having a report in core Salesforce that is timing out. The reason it's timing out is because it's a relational model that we're trying to grab data from all these different objects and join them together at the runtime. That is going to be very difficult when you're dealing with large amount of data. So in Einstein Analytics, what we're doing with the data flow is we're grabbing these different objects and we're joining them together, denormalizing the data. So once you're running your reports or your dashboards, the data has already been combined. You don't have to do that on the fly. We're also taking all your fields and categorizing them as a text, number, a date, so a measure, and a dimension and a date. And we're indexing all the text fields. So when you're looking for something, we can go ahead and find it very quickly because we've already indexed it. So what does this mean? Well, if you have a book, okay, then I can ask you to go ahead and read through the whole book, and hopefully at one point you can come back to me and tell me at what pages it says, in this case, Mr. Pink. Or if you're lucky enough, there's an index in the back of the book where it says Mr. Pink, and it defines all the different pages where you have this this word occurs. And so you can quickly go ahead and switch over to page 1, 6, and 9 to go ahead and find the pages that you need to look for. It's the same thing that we're doing in Einstein Analytics. We're indexing so we can quickly find the results when you're querying it in the dashboard. So all these different concepts that I've now thrown out, I like this kind of this slide because it's very simplifying, saying we have our data sources. This can be Salesforce, it can be external, it can also be CSV files that you're importing. We use our data flow to prep this data to register a data set. This data set we can use for single exploration in terms of a lens, or we can have multiple exploration in one view, which is the dashboard. And our data set, lens, and dashboard is all stored in an app that controls what we have access to and what we can do with it, just like we have in core Salesforce. I wanted to give you a few resources, and I'll just go over these first, and then I'll just ask for questions or possibly go into more demo. I will let it be up to the organizers what we have time for. But here is a few resources. So the team that I am part of at Salesforce, we run a lot of academies, and it's basically training, free training, but we also recorded our full 2-day academy, which unfortunately we can't deliver at this point in time due to the whole pandemic we have. But 40 videos that you can go up and in YouTube and check out, and you have all the training. We actually just updated the videos with the latest changes in terms of releases, so it should be up to date. We also have webinars, which is a 1-hour deep dive into different areas. And then I also run a blog where myself and a lot of the PMs in Einstein Analytics is blogging about all the different features and how to, and yeah, so there's hopefully something that you can find that you can learn from there as well. And then of course, Trailhead, just put a few links in, but I trust that all of you are familiar with that and can navigate to some amazing trails in there as well. And I wanted to put it for questions or demo. Yeah, I'll let you guys decide.
Yeah, the first question that came up, the links that you just shared on your last slide, is that posted somewhere, or I could just grab them from your slide and copy them?
Yeah, and I'm also happy to share the slides. There's nothing, you know, so you can have all of that if you want, but let's make them available for sure.
Cool. Let's see.
Any other questions?
Feel free to jump in. Oh, Michael Farrington asks, is any of this Tableau technology yet or not yet?
Can you repeat that?
Yeah, Michael Farrington asks, is any of this Tableau technology or not yet? Meaning, is Einstein like using Tableau technology?
Not at all, not yet at least. And to be completely transparent, the only thing that we are looking at, and again, this is forward-looking statement, is how can we actually integrate some of the different functionalities that we have. Right now, there's no shared infrastructure at all. It's still a new acquisition, so we're still looking at how we're gonna do that.
Any other questions for Rikke? Well, I'm gonna drop Ricky's Twitter in the chat. She is very good at responding on social media, so I recommend following her. And also, one more question came up. Is this the one which required a different Trailhead account for?
Yeah, so if you go with the beginner, what's it called, Trails, it typically has a link where you can go ahead and get an account that has analytics enabled. Or if you take the YouTube videos, there's also going to be in the first one an instruction to how to get a Trailhead org there. The only thing to be aware of is the way that the Academy videos is going, we're actually using a different org that has different data sets because you want to be able to do stuff like discovery and that sort of stuff. So use that org, but if you're trying to complete the super batches and stuff, I would recommend following and creating the org that they have listed, because they might have some other data sets in there. However, if you're just playing around, you find the data set online, or you want to have your activity data or your salary survey, you can import it in either one of those orgs and have a play with it. Hopefully that answered the question.
They said thank you.
Cool. Do I have more time, or do we want to end it here?
I think you are right. You're good on time. I mean, we have a lot to talk about, but if you have something itching you want to share with us, you're more than welcome to share details.
I just wanted to show you with the data side. So when I'm in my analytics, I can go up here into my data manager, and it basically takes me to this. And I wanted to show you, if any of you have been in here before in terms of your data flows and all this, you might be like, oh, this is a little bit scary. I wanted to show you, and this is a little bit from our next release. We actually have the option to go in, hopefully I'm in the right order, to go in and use the new data prep that we're working on, which is I think you will find that it looks a little bit like, Flow. Being inspired with some of the same kind of, how data flows through. So you can go in here and pick your different objects or existing data sets as well. So in this case, I can go ahead and pick my opportunity, click on next, and you can see here it's a little bit nicer looking than if you've worked with our data flow before. So this is where we're putting a lot of energy to make it easier for admins to go in and manage these data flows. And we have some really cool things on the roadmap as well to make it even easier for anybody to get started with this. So might have to wait a couple of weeks before you get access to this one. But I would encourage you to have a play with it. It's not that scary once you get started, but just understanding how data works is quite good. I will stop here and then hand it back over to you, Zach.
Awesome. Well, before we let Rikke go to sleep, let's just take a quick screenshot. Now, normally we would do this with everyone, but we're piloting the new technology, so it's going to be me, Chris, Cindy, and Rikke, and I'm screenshotting the attendee list, and that'll have to do for now. Okay, let me see. So, I mean, you could also pretend smiling at the camera, and I'll try and take it with you. Okay, 1, 2, let's go. Screenshot, and 1, 2, and 3. Perfect.
Yay. Well, thank you guys for having me. And as Zach said, feel free to, message me on Twitter or LinkedIn. Probably Twitter is better because I tend to be a little bit slow on LinkedIn. So, yeah.
Thank you so much.
Perfect. Thank you, Rikke. Okay, Chris, do you want to go ahead and share your screen?
Yes, I do.
Just for the login, then I'll take over again.
Okay. So here is the login info. And we'll post this deck in the community. And I guess I could actually post it in the chat here in a second once Zach starts. But these are the credentials that you can use to interact with the salary dashboard that Zach is about to review. So I'll post this in the chat in just a second, and it will be in the community afterwards. We're good?
Yep, and then next slide, just making sure. Perfect. Okay, so I'm about to start sharing the salary survey. I know everyone's been wanting to talk about this for a few months now. I've gotten a few messages on LinkedIn. I'm sure many people have been talking and texting about this. We want this to be a conversation as much as this can be. So I'll start sharing my screen in a moment. I'll talk about how I got the dashboard started up, how you're all logging in with a login on a free environment. I think that's a pretty nifty trick, so I'm going to talk about that. And if you have any questions, feel free to post in the chat. Like, we have Chris, we have Cindy, we have myself. I'm probably not going to be looking at the chat as much, but we're all here, and Chris and Cindy are probably more qualified to talk about like how to negotiate rather than just myself. So feel free to have a fun conversation with everyone. And just because you see certain numbers on here, know your value. If you believe you're worth 150K, 200K, however much, justify it and go for it is what I say. So use this as like a baseline, but whatever you end up negotiating is what works for you. Okay, I'm gonna share my screen. Okay, so before I get to that, so when you log into the environment, so if you're logging in through the login, which will be posted in the chat right now, you just click App Launcher in the upper left-hand corner, and you click Analytics Studio, or if it's not coming up for you, it should, because I've clicked it a few times. Search for Analytics Studio in the chat. When you click it, this is the screen you should see, because I've logged in as that user a few times. And so you should see this dashboard right here, Salesforce ATX. You can also go to all items, like Rikke said, and you can find it under the application or folder called Salesforce ATX 2020. And while everyone's doing that and they're starting to get logged in, I'm gonna navigate back to the dashboard. And how everyone's logging in with one user is there's a fun trick with Salesforce where if you create a custom profile and you set the IP range from like 0.0 to 255.255, you're basically saying you trust the entire world and every computer that goes on the internet. So you can bypass two-factor authentication. Please do not put a phone number if it asks you to put a phone number. Please do not change the password because then you're going to lock out all of the friends in our local community, and that is not a fun thing to do. But anyways, everyone should be able to see my screen, and I have a dashboard loaded up. So this is the Salesforce ATX Salary Dashboard 2020. It looks a lot different than last year. We just have it all on one page. And just going from top to bottom, and we'll get into the nitty-gritty of everything. I have it set up as title along the top. Then I have your filters. So this entire dashboard is interactive. So if I wanted to query some demographic information, so if I wanted to see age group of 26 through 35, the entire dashboard would start to adjust. And you didn't get to see it right there because I scrolled way too fast, but maybe let's click something different here. I'm going to click Administrator. There we go. And it'll change. It'll show you the number of responses. And you'll see some widgets will break. That is due to whether there's data to support it or some troubleshooting I need to do. This dashboard is still going to be a work in progress, but you're able to play with it. So you have a login, and you're able to ask it the questions that you want. And you can even interact with the charts. So if I clicked on this chart, for instance, the very first chart, which is showing job title and average salary, and then the different colors are the seniority level, the entire dashboard will adjust to that value. So you're really able to hone in on the information that you're looking for. And I'm just pressing reset in the upper left-hand corner to reset to the regular view. So whenever I do anything, I can always get back to my default. Now, just going down the dashboard again, I have a few other values. I have PTO values, and again, I'll talk about specifics. I have sick count, but I have other information that was asked on the survey, such as, did you get a sign-on bonus? Does your company pay for learning, meaning they have a learning budget, health stipend, et cetera, et cetera. I just have that displayed in yes, no, because I wanted it to be very crisp and clear. No is in red, yes is in blue. So it should be very quickly to understand how many people said yes to this. And you can see when blue is greater than red, it's covering up more of the area. And you can see the average salary of the correspondents inside of these. So you can typically see when you get more incentives on a job, you typically also have a higher salary and how that relates. Our data set has 82 responses. So everything we're saying, we're not doing it at big data levels. We're doing it at local data levels. And so again, use your best judgment when you're using this information. And just scrolling down, then I have the information that was reported, such as for like what people reported for their sign-on bonus, what people reported for their company's learning budget, what their health stipend is, etc. And then I have all of that sorted below specifically by job titles. So you can see all of the survey responses and you can go and double check the data yourself. I have it organized by job titles right here in this table, but down here, I have the entire data set here. So if you wanted to, you could just highlight it, copy it in Excel, or I could enable the Excel download feature. So you have all of this information available to you. So if you want to pop this data into an Einstein Analytics instance of your own, if you want to pop it into Excel and create a chart, by all means, go ahead and do this. This data is for the community. Just with the baseline set here. So I'm just going to talk about some basic information that was derived from the data. So for administrators, without considering any demographic information, the average salary is $87,000. And if I just click that really fast, you'll see it tells you the number of responses. So there are 32 survey responses that are making up this number. And then because the dashboard adjusted here, we're able to see more specific information. So we can see the different salary ranges. So for an associate, so the entry-level admin, if I click this, it'll tell me, let's see here. And that number's not adjusting for some reason, but that's what we get when we do a live demo. Something always changes during a live demo. So I will, let me see, did the table down here? Aha, the table down here updated, so that's 15. So I'll troubleshoot after this why this one number didn't update during my live demo. But you're able to see the specific salary information as it pertains to admins. And just so everyone's on the same page, we have seniority set as associates, your entry level. Standard is like your mid-level, like what you come in when you're not like a senior, you're not a junior. Then senior/staff is sometimes how it's differentiated. It's for like senior admins in this case. And we could see senior admins average around 102K. And then principal admins in the Austin, Texas area, we could see it's in the dark blue right here. And they average around 127, 128K. Now, on the chart to the right of that, we're displaying bonus in two different ways because bonus structures can be negotiated in two different ways, multiple ways. But for the purpose of our salary survey dashboard, we ask bonus in two different structures. And so one structure is you get a flat 10K bonus. It's not based on your salary. It's not based on anything variable. You just get flat 10K. Great. For the most part, what we see is a lot of individuals had a salary that was a percent on their, or they had a bonus that was percent on their salary. And so we have that on the left-hand side, but on the right-hand side is that flat bonus. And then we have that similar color coding. So you can go through and you can see how that reflects. So when a principal admin, the average salary that people reported was around 128K in their bonus. When you do a percent, that'll typically average to 16K. So just resetting the dashboard. And how are we doing on questions, Chris and Cindy? I've been talking for a minute.
We are doing pretty well. Let's see. One of the questions was, how was the data derived? So it was derived from the salary survey that we sent out earlier this summer. We didn't manipulate any of those numbers. We just ingested them and are displaying them. Fair to say, Zach?
So let me talk about that. So as Chris said, over the summer, we initiated a salary survey for a 2-month period. We did not touch the salary at all during that 2 months. Once the salary survey was live, it was controlled. We could not edit it. No matter how bad we wanted to add more questions, it was out there. Once the salary survey was closed, it was closed. Now, in terms of editing, if we got someone that reported they made $400,000, we're going to make the judgment to remove that when they say they're a junior admin making $400,000 a year. Because that will greatly inflate the results, and that wouldn't be helpful. That would just tip the results so far because our data set is so small. Like, yes, we got 82 responses, but that one value will easily, possibly even increase it by like 100K. I think that only happened for 2 results, and the other one was somebody somehow still managed to type in 0. And so, but that's the limitation of it. But I think that's enough info for how was the data derived.
Yep. And then there was a follow-up to that question, region/location of the survey. We sent out the survey to our Salesforce ATX community. So, and we wanted to make it, specific to Austin. So that's the region/location. Let's see, there was a comment that I wanted to share. Let me scroll back up to it. Yeah, Kelsey Shannon made the comment to ask for a salary increase way before review cycles because budgets are oftentimes locked in by the time of review cycle. So good comment there. Let's see. Someone wants to know, where is the person that's making 400K as a junior admin? Where are they working?
Austin, Texas, supposedly.
Yeah. Let's see. I think, let's see, someone was asking about positions that we had, and I think, Zach, you touched on this. What's the difference between principal and senior? And the comment in the chat was principal is a level above senior and below manager, which I think that, I agree with that.
Yeah. Chris, I can speak to that just quickly. I think as you get into larger organizations, you have to have more levels. In Austin, we have a variety, as most cities do, with the size of companies. Some of us are in companies that tap out from a career path standpoint at a senior admin. But when you get into larger companies with more layers, your individual contributor track can progress well beyond a senior. And with that opportunity comes the availability of principal, which is typically a level above senior, and then staff, which is a level above principal from an individual contributor standpoint. And I think that's important from a person's perspective who may be on a very dedicated individual contributor standpoint from either an administrator or a developer track. Know that there are very lucrative positions, but it typically requires a transition to a very large organization that has room for those layers. And so if you're not familiar with that terminology, it just might be that your company size doesn't support that or whatever. And if that's the case, then certainly reach out to one of us. We will find an answer for you or a path for you. But the IC track is certainly one that can be substantial in the right circumstances.
Thank
Just
you.
realized I was in the view only mode.
So Zach, I think we're good to go.
Okay, cool. So let me see here. So just going along, I'm going to click Business Analyst, and we're just going to go through them. I'm not going to go through every single demographic, but the demographic information is there for you to go through if you so desire. If you run into any technical difficulties, our email will be on the slides. I'll post it in the chat. It's austin-texas.admins@trailblazercgl.com. Feel free to email us. It goes to everyone, and we'll get to it as soon as we can. But anyways, business analyst. So we see here, we didn't get any junior business analyst responses. We only got 8 responses overall. And so that's, again, use this information as a placeholder, but understand when you have such a small data set, is every single senior business analyst going to make 99K? I don't know. But you should use this information to the best of your ability and help you negotiate. Anyway, standard business analyst makes 91K, senior 99K average, and then principal is 110K. And just going back to what Cindy said here with staff being on the same level of principal, she told me that prior. I'm going to fix this on this chart. It's actually a fun little thing I'm doing here, and I'm going to geek out for a moment because I can. So I actually went in the data flow, and whenever you do anything, you think you know the best way to display the data, such as create a pick list field, or hopefully never create a multi-select pick list like I did last year with job title. But I'm able to fix that inside of the data flow. So I had a seniority field where I wasn't able to actually sort everything in the correct order. And you see here how I have, when this is senior staff, I have it called 03.senior. If I just remove this and call this principal staff, I can just fix it. So I don't even need to have access to the Salesforce org to go and fix a field. So I really like that. You don't always need admin perms or have to wait for the admin team to go and do something. And that should finish relatively quickly. I could just click the refresh button. I like clicking through here. While I wait for that, just going back along with the business analyst. Overall average across all levels. So when you're not considering seniority, 97K. And then the bonus is pretty in line with what we saw with admin. So typically you get more when you do a bonus of your salary, but it's beneficial to do percent of your salary when you're making more. I hope I don't have to explain that. Just going on to the next one, consultant. So consultant, I think that's an interesting one. And the terminology with consultant, someone mentioned in the chat, at our company, associate is higher than standard. And I see that actually in consulting companies where you're considered a consulting associate or you're a consulting partner. That's typically higher than just your consulting developer or whatever. So I could see how that's confusing, but in the terms of this survey, associate were corresponding as junior. Anyways, I'm going to refresh. Good, it finished. I'm going to refresh the screen and see if it works during this live presentation. Great, it worked. I fixed the chart, yay. Anyways, back to consultant. So associate consultants, we're saying they got on average 110K, whereas your standard consultant is 94 or 95K. Now, that could be a situation of how we phrase the question, because in consulting companies, sometimes folks think associate is above, or sometimes it's standard, or sometimes it's entry level. Every company is different. So I think that's a good point for next year on properly clarifying that. But you can see the range is still between 90K all the way up to 160K apparently. But I know consultants typically make a bit more money than your in-house admins. That's just what I've seen. Typically, they get a bit of a higher pay bump. The average salary for consultants, 117K over 11 responses. And I typically see the bonus structure, in my experience, which I've done both partner and I've done as an in-house admin, the bonus structure is typically a bit more lucrative when you're with a partner as a consultant than when you're in-house. And before I go to developer, are there any questions?
Unmute. It's a new system. Yes, there is one question. Our good friend Armand Shah asked, do we have any data about contract work / hourly rates? And unfortunately, Armand, we don't. But I feel like that is a great addition for us to make next year when we do this.
Chris, I will add to that. I think it can be extrapolated from this data. One, you would have to consider base pay versus base pay plus all of the other elements of the compensation package. And as a contractor, you expect to make those differences up in your hourly rate. So you can probably, if with the data that's served up in this survey, you could probably back your way into at least a base level understanding of a contractor rate at a certain level. But know that those components aren't going to be demonstrated in this presentation as one would expect if that's what you're looking for. They're just, a contractor's rate has so many variables built in, whereas a full-time employee, you have your other expectations. So use the data as you know to use it, especially if you're in the contractor space. I hope you know how to use this data. So extrapolate what you will, build on that, and then to Chris's point, in the future, maybe we can build that component in where you can slice and dice the data depending on if you're a full-time employee or a contractor. That will take some manipulation and some extra data points to give that clear picture. But I think, Armand, you should be able to use elements of this to extract what you're looking for.
Thank you, Cindy.
I want to jump in there about contractors too. Another thing to keep in mind when you're not like in-house as a contractor, meaning like you're a full-time employee, W-2 with a partner or whatever. If you go C2C or whatever that other form is when you're moonlighting or you're working side gigs, you have to consider if you're doing that full-time, You have to pay for your own health insurance. You have to withhold your own taxes. You have to do all of the work that you get the luxury of when an HR or a payroll department does all of that for you. So that's typically why like contract rates are typically bumped a bit higher when it's not W-2, because there's so much more variables, as Cindy said.
Cool, thank you, Zach. So Kevin McGee asked, will we be putting the survey in the community for other groups review and complete? Well, we're sharing the credentials with you so that you can, log in and take a look at it and play with it yourselves. I don't know, Zach, if we have a way to actually post this in the community. I think the best option is just to use the credentials that we are giving you to access the data. Is that fair to say?
Yeah, so I mean, we're posting the login in the community, so you can go log in. All of the columns on this down here, that's all of the questions that we asked on the salary survey. And so you could always just take the columns and you can import them into like a Google form, or you could do that on a different software. We, as a user group, Get Feedback gave us a free license, and we're very thankful to Shauna Hughes for hooking us up with that, because that allowed us to really have a smooth transition. But we're not planning on conducting this like nationwide. We did this for our local Austin group, and it's not every, but I see this as the trend in user groups. From what I see in the success community, I think Denver has a survey. So I would recommend getting up with your local user group leaders, and however they want to do it, I mean, they're more than welcome to come talk to us, but if they decide they want to do it some way different, there's so many surveys out there at this point.
Right. In that vein, I would encourage people to accept this for the demographic that was responsive to the survey. This is Austin. This is the user group that responded to it. There's so much that goes into analyzing trends when you get into other cities or different areas in terms of compensation. And I wouldn't encourage people to take this outside of Austin without some legitimate additions to it to ensure that it's like at the same point, because like cost of living plays into this. So this is Austin based because this is an Austin community. It's community responses. I do think there's an area to grow beyond it, but this particular survey needs to be taken within context of the folks that responded to it. And in terms of diversity from a gender standpoint, which I see that's coming up, ethnicity, years of experience, look at the questions that are surveyed and understand what assumptions you can derive from that. These are all good recommendations for future salary surveys, but make sure you understand the questions that were asked before you layer assumptions onto the responses that were given, would be my guidance. I think this has a tremendous insight in terms of where you can take this information, but look at it through the lens of how it was offered. That would absolutely be my recommendation on this pass. And I just don't want improper expectations to be layered on top of responses that were given and data that's being presented.
Yeah, thank you, Cindy. Cindy always has such amazing insight. So yeah, and you actually alluded to this just a moment ago, Cindy, but Zach, there was a question asked, is it possible to compare the responses by years of experience, gender, ethnicity, etc.? So I think you were about to touch on that.
Yes, and if you saw me clicking around on my screen, this is me creating technical debt in my own sandbox, so shame on me. when I fixed the compute expression, I split the data set. So now I have 2 data sets, and I was joining the data together. So when you do a filter, it works on the other chart and all that fun technical stuff. But yes, so this actually stems back to last year when Stephanie Herrera gave this advice. So we have age or years in 2 different ways. So first we have it in how many years of total Salesforce experience do you have? So like, how long have you been using Salesforce? And that is a great question to ask. And then the other question we ask when it comes to years is how many years of total business process experience do you have? So on the left, there's a range where you can drag the slider and you see like change really. I have to like really go down there to see the charts change, but you can slide it left and right and you can get the range that you exactly want to see. So you can customize the charts to that specific information. And same with business process experience. You'll see like the chart on the right when I was adjusting the chart on the left right here. Don't know what that pop-up is. You see the chart on the right automatically adjusted. Oh, I saw Kelsey. I'll tell you how to do the sliders. You'll see the chart on the right automatically adjusted here. Your charts will automatically adjust based on if there's information. Again, we're not dealing with large data volumes here. And so eventually, if we filter enough, the chart's going to break because there's no data to go into the chart. So it's like, oh, there's nothing here, and it cries out. So that explains that. But yes, the top left right here, total Salesforce experience. I don't know why that keeps popping up. If I do that again, will it? Yep. I'm just not going to double click. And then how many years of total business process experience. So hopefully you can really customize it to yourself. And to answer Kelsey's question really quickly, if you go into edit mode, it's, which one is it? There are all these widgets on the left-hand side, and you can drop all of them and fully customize this dashboard. I use the range widget right here, and you have to make it big enough for the slider to appear. And yes, we have not given anyone edit access to this because we don't want somebody to go in and delete all this hard work. I mean, I could back up the JSON and re-import everything, but I do also have a full-time job and other activities. And last year, I had to do that about 4 times. Well, not the delete, but resetting the passwords and other activities. So we have it locked down this year just for that. But anyways, developer. Let's keep talking because we still have a bit of time. And then I'll probably stop talking in about 7 minutes. Everyone has the login. Then we can do swag, and then we can wrap up. Does that sound good, Kristen and Cindy? So developer, we got 10 responses. And what's interesting to me is between a standard and a senior level developer. I'm wondering if I click it, the average is 101. I have to see, why is that like not updating? It updated earlier. If I go and I click it right here, I'm going to have to troubleshoot that. I don't know why I just pressed reload there. We could see for the junior level developer, the average was coming about to 75 to 80K, standard level 100K, but then the senior was 103K. I'm guessing there was only like 1 or 2 responses here, and I have to figure out, is it showing up on this chart? Yeah, there's only 5 responses. Oh, and then when someone's paid 60K, which isn't unheard of, like that's perfectly reasonable, that's going to bring down the entire average. But we put all of the results here. So if you would like to copy all of this, drop it in Excel. And if you want to omit this and then make the case for 110K that this would be or whatever, by all means, we want this information to help you. We just found for developers, the average was, I believe it was a little under 100 when you consider your entry-level developers, which makes sense. Marketers only had 3 responses for marketers, so we didn't really have a lot of information to go off of here. We had 5 from product owners. The average was 95. Standard 74, and then there's a big jump to senior, but when there's only 5 responses, again, use that as you will. I think we got a few more for solutions architect, actually. One from a project manager, they're making 87K, so use that information as you will. We had quite a few solution architects in town. That one surprised me. We had 10 responses, and all of them were above 100K in the bonus structure. Typically, I see solution architects at partner companies for like pre-sales, and so they could have a different payment structure or bonus structure that they put here. We see that's a bit higher with the principal one making 18K at the highest. Technical architect, we only had a couple of responses, so use that information as you will, and that averaged to 137,750. And if I go down here, I can see one was 150, one was 125. So take that information as you will. But let's do questions for the last time, then let's get to swag. Let's see.
Yeah, Zach, I'm going to make one more plug for next year. If you see that these results don't reflect your reality, whether it's from a position of over-exaggerating what you would think is possible or under-exaggerating what is available in the Austin market, I would encourage you to participate in this. Again, the outliers are eliminated if they are significant enough to skew results. And that is common best practice for statistically significant results, right? So I would encourage people that feel that this may not be reflective, if that is the case, to participate when this opportunity arises. And we will do this year over year. I think it's reflective from a hiring manager standpoint. I think it's reflective as a starting point, but I also think it's important to have the voice of the community truly reflected in these results so that we know individually where we are and where we know from a hiring manager standpoint or a consulting augmentation position where the market is at the moment. So a call out just to be participants in the survey, because it makes a huge difference. The more people we have, the more accurate the results.
I'm refreshing my page here. We'll get to swag in a moment. I was troubleshooting. Like I saw an issue and I was like, I just figured it out. Connect data sources. I didn't connect. Yeah, that's the wrong column here. So seniority in the compute expression. Seniority. No, where is it? I know what's wrong. I'll get to that later then. It does not like me being on a webinar with like 40, 50 people and sharing my screen and then loading a data set with many different charts on here. Anyways, I'm going to stop sharing. You can email us any other questions you have. You can tweet and tag us. Otherwise, we won't really know. You can talk in the success community. Probably email's the best way. But yeah, take a look. And I'm going to actually stop sharing and pass it to Chris to share the slideshow.
Cool. Thank you, Zach. And just real quick, before we jump into swag, I wanted to give a very, very special thank you to Zach for this evening. Cindy and I, we contributed a little bit to this, but Zach did the lion's share of the work here. So on behalf of Cindy, if you don't mind, I just wanted to say thank you so much to Zach for making this happen tonight and last year. he really did the majority of this work himself, and for that we are extremely grateful. The community is grateful. Thank you so much, Zach, for doing this.
Absolutely. Absolutely, Chris. I couldn't express any more things. Like, Zach totally carried the lion's share of this work. I think it's a great start. I think it's a wonderful conversation for the community at large. I love that we have this transparency. It gives everybody information. It gives you the information that you need as a community member to know where your starting point is, if nothing else. So thank you, Zach. You carried the weight in a very, very big way. So thank you.
Yes, thank you so much. Okay. Let's move on to swag here really quickly. Zach, you want to kind of show them what they will be getting?
Yeah, so we have 5 care packages to give away. 4 care packages are reserved to Austin, meaning you have to live in Austin, Texas, because we're not mailing it. Me or Chris or Cindy's going to drive and just drop off a care package because we've been cooped up, so kind of want to drive. 1 care package I'll be mailing nationally. We originally asked folks to tweet on Twitter a question they want for the meeting. That didn't happen, and so we chose folks at random, which is totally fine too. But we have 5 Einstein plushes, or as part of each care package, we'll have 1 Einstein plush, a Aperio wireless charger, an Einstein Analytics lookbook, which is just a huge book on how to design charts for user experience and design and all that fun stuff. We have limited edition socks from the Einstein marketing team that they sent to us. Everyone loves socks, and we're not getting them right now during the pandemic. And then we have some Trailhead playing cards. So we have 5 of these to give out, and I'm going to pass it back to Cindy and Chris for the 4 in Austin.
Okay. Thank you, Zach. Okay, so let me just make sure that the 4 people that I picked at the beginning of the meeting are still here. I know
do them one at a time.
Yeah. Actually, no, that person's not still here. So winner number 1 is Tracy Wynn. Thank you for sticking around till the end of the meeting. Winner number 2, yeah, a lot of people are gone, is, and everybody that I picked is gone. Winner number 2 is Michael Farrington. Thank you for being here this evening. Let's see. Winner number 3. Okay, so everybody that I picked initially, I made sure that they were in Austin, and everybody that I picked is gone now. So I don't know if these people even live in Austin. So I'm going to count on you to be honest. If you don't live in Austin, tell us, because unfortunately we don't have budget to ship things. So let's go with Laura Black. Are you in Austin?
Laura's in Austin.
Yes, Laura's in Austin.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Sweet. Okay. Perfect. Congratulations, and thank you for being here. And I believe we have 1 more to give away. And that is going to go to Jenny Carpenter. Are you in Austin?
Jenny? I didn't even know she was here. I'm so excited. I used to work with her.
Is Jenny in Austin?
Yes, she is. I used to work with her at Well Sky. Jenny.
Perfect. Congratulations, Jenny, and thank you for being here. So Zach, who is our national swag recipient?
Yes. And the winner of our national swag recipient, meaning I'm going to go to the post office and mail this out, is Tracy Scott.
Yay.
Yay. So congratulations to all of our swag winners. And let's see, so a couple of wrap-up items. Again, we're going to post our, for those swag winners,
We need your address.
yeah, can you just direct message Zach and myself and Cindy your email address, and we will coordinate with you via email. So take a couple of minutes to do that, please, so we can get you your swag. And we will post the credentials in the community so that you can log into the Salesforce org that Zach created and take a look at the data for yourselves. Zach, Cindy, what other wrap-up items?
We have our next meeting coming up in October.
Yeah, October 20th, again with Stephen Freyers. We will send out a note on that as soon as we have everything set up. We'll be using Zoom again for that. So yeah, October 20th, it's a Tuesday, and it will be all about Winter 21. So make sure to attend that. What else?
I heard you might have some vouchers for that meeting. Or I don't know.
A voucher for a training or a certification voucher?
Maybe.
Maybe. Yep. Okay, so I've received messages from Michael and Tracy.
Which Tracy, Wen or Scott?
Wen, Tracy Wen, yeah. So if we called your name earlier.
They may have messaged me just now, actually. Oh, yep. They sent me a message.
Okay.
Oh,
so who?
Laura Scott sent me a message. And oh, you said Tracy Nguyen sent you a message?
Yes.
Okay.
Well, I just want to say how grateful we are as a community group leader team that people are continuing to show up at meetings during this time. One, I think we're all overwhelmed with video meetings during the day, and to have one on your calendar at this point of the evening or night or morning, wherever you may be, is just another one that you could dismiss. But to those of you who are still on the call, and to the ones that were here earlier but had to drop for whatever reason, there's an extreme amount of gratitude that goes to all of you for showing up and continuing to support the community that will inevitably come back together in person at some point. This is such a strong community, one that is so strong compared to like communities across the globe, and I want to ensure we maintain that from an Austin standpoint, continuing to show up at meetings, continuing to participate in meetings, and I just send my absolute thank you to everybody who is here at the moment, and to the ones again that may have been here and then dropped before. I just, there's so much to the participation of optional meetings like this, and thank you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart, and I would extend that to Chris and Zach and all of the other user group leaders across the Austin community. It is so appreciated.
Yep, likewise. Thank you. Anything else from you guys?
No, I don't have anything.
Yeah, I think
we're
good.
Thank you.
All right. Yeah, thanks everyone for joining us tonight. I know I found it really insightful, and we hope that you did too. And we hope you guys have a great night.
Bye, everyone.
Bye.